Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start the regular council meeting for February 9th. Welcome. So, whoops, I just dropped the ball here. Just a minute. Okay, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes of January 25th, please? Councillor Peak. Councillor Traynor, thank you. All in favor? Okay, motion passed. Thank you very much. Corporate officer, is there anything additional to the agenda that's not here?
Nothing additional, but our sergeant of the RCMP is sick today, so won't be able to do the detachment quarterly report as planned. So item 13.1 we're not able to do.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're able to move ahead to 5.1. Yes, Councillor Crawford.
I'll just move that we adopt the agenda.
Oh, good idea. See, it took about a 4-week rest, right on, spot on target. So motion to adopt the agenda for this evening, Councillor Barkwell, Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Okay, we move to 5.1, George Riga Marginal Arts Festival. Barbara.
Ready with your reference.
Okay, there's three of us doing the presentation this evening. I'm Barbara Thorburn.
I'm Diane Hildebrand.
I'm Peter Hyde.
Good evening.
So thank you, Mayor Waterman, members of council, and staff for giving us this opportunity to present our plan for a new and exciting festival in Summerland. We represent the recently formed Riga Festival Society, and we are looking for your support in this exciting new initiative, we feel whose time has come. Summerland is made for festivals. There are so many great festival venues in our town. There's Center Stage, the new library, parks, beaches, churches, wineries, and even the trails and rodeo grounds. Over the years, there have been many surveys and community consultations that have asked the question, what do you love about Summerland? And whether it's been a conversation cafe or the official community plan or the cultural task force asking this question, the primary reasons can be summarized: its beautiful location, the strong sense of community, and our cultural values. Culturally vibrant towns are inherently successful, and Summerland has everything it needs to become an even more culturally vibrant town. Summerland already hosts a variety of cultural events, concerts, local theater productions, and of course there's the Goodwill Shakespeare Festival for BC high school students. But there's one playwright, perhaps the greatest that Canada has produced, and is neglected in his own hometown. We are talking, of course, about George Riga, who is the inspiration for our festival. Riga lived in Summerland for 25 years, and he created most of his best well-known works while living here in Summerland.
The other inspiration for our festival is the fact that festivals can be very, very successful. They can change the whole economy of a town. For example, the Stratford Shakespearean Festival of Canada was founded by a local journalist, Tom Patterson. At that time, Stratford was facing a disastrous loss of employment with the imminent elimination of steam power. Patterson's idea was to revitalize the town's economy by creating a theater festival dedicated to the works of William Shakespeare, based on the fact that the town shared the name of Shakespeare's birthplace. With the support of Stratford's mayor and council, the festival became a legal entity in 1952. Barely 9 months later, actor Alec Guinness spoke the first lines of the first play produced by the festival as Richard III. Now is the winter of our discontent, make glorious summer by the son of York. Another example from North America is Ashland, Oregon, a town which has grown to an almost year-round festival, giving employment to hundreds of theater professionals for 10 months in the year. It is a town of just over 20,000 people, now attracts 500,000 visitors. Ashland started with a grant of $400 in 1935 in the middle of the Depression. It's about $7,000 today's money. Because the town was concerned that the play would not make back its expenses, it insisted that a boxing match be put on as well. No one came to the boxing match, but the theater was packed, and they're still packing them in today. And then there is Artswell's Festival. The full name is the Artswell Festival of All Things Art, located in Wells, BC, near Barkerville. It has over 100 performances on 12 stages, many workshops and art exhibits. We are lucky to have in our group Artswell's Executive Director Julie Fowler and her husband, the Ticton Art Gallery curator Paul Crawford, and as enthusiastic supporters of our plans. From the history of these and many, many other festivals, this is what we have learned. Successful festivals have the following things in common. They have local champions with vision. They have support from the community. They started from modest beginnings. They got seed money from local government, based on which they get additional funding from local sponsors and grants. We have incorporated these lessons into planning our festival. We chose the name Marginal Arts Festival. Why marginal? We had a lot of discussion on this, and part of that was that George Riga championed those who are marginalized by society. Riga himself was often marginalized both as an artist and as member of a minority, coming from a very poor family in northern Alberta. We also feel that many artists, including those in our own community, work on the fringes. On the positive side, fringe festivals are growing hugely in popularity. It's a worldwide movement now. You may have noticed in our logo that the Marginal Arts Festival is inspired by George Riga, and that is why we are registered as the Riga Festival Society. The Society is already a member of the Summerland Arts Council, and we have made a submission to the Municipal Cultural Task Force and look forward to working with them as they develop Summerland's cultural plan. Our membership consists of experienced professionals with backgrounds in the business and the arts.
Based on evidence from other highly successful festival towns, we have included the following in our mission statement: to contribute to the cultural and economic development of Summerland and to raise its profile as a cultural tourist destination. We intend to launch the festival this summer, yes, 2016. Our strategy is to start small with a few quality events and build on that in future years. We want to partner with business and existing arts organizations and involve the community at a grassroots level, making the festival accessible to all. We envision a festival that includes performances and other events at wineries, parks, the library, and a variety of venues in Summerland. Our first year's plans include a big jazz concert at Center Stage featuring 3-time Juno Award winner Campbell Riga, George's son. Coordinating musical events is Sergei Riga, another one of George's sons. We're hoping that this represents a kind of homecoming for Riga's dispersed family back to Summerland. We also intend to have storytelling workshops, poetry readings, and reminiscences at locations around town, including the historically designated former home of George Riga, now my home. We are scheduling the main events for Labor Day weekend, with a few workshops in the week leading up to it. This date positions us to be part of a festival circuit and will bring visitors to Summerland for the end of the summer season.
Okay, so what we need now, what we need apart from startup funds and in-kind contributions, is support from our municipality and from the community. We would like to develop a partnership with the District of Summerland to build this vision into a successful festival. We know that there's still some skepticism about the impact of culture and the arts on economic development, But numerous studies and some recent models show that local government, business, and the arts can collaborate for the benefit of their communities. So we're leaving with you, and you have it on your desk, 2 examples, and there are many, many more. One is the Alice Munro Festival of the Short Story in Wingham, Ontario, and the other one is the Kicking Horse Culture of Golden, BC. So we would like to propose a similar partnership with Summerland, similar to what these 2 organizations have with their municipalities. So we believe that as we grow together, the Marginal Arts Festival will contribute significantly to the economic and cultural life of Summerland. So your involvement and support will enable us to procure business sponsorships and government grants. So finally, while we may be calling our festival marginal, we firmly believe that the arts are central to the community, and that the arts can also be central to our economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, anything to be done? Just
We have 2 proposed recommendations. One is to receive it for information, and the other one is to direct staff to prepare a report in regard to the request.
Okay. Any questions from council or our staff? Councilor Pete?
So will our staff then work with the organizers of the festival to better understand how they are looking for support and partnership?
That's right, and then we would look into potential funding mechanisms if it was finances, just to be able to come back to council, next council meeting with a report.
Sounds good. So, somebody like to bring a motion forward, please? Councilor Barclay.
I propose that the council pass the following resolutions: that the delegation from the Riga Festival Society regarding proposed Marginal Arts Festival will be received for information, and secondly, that staff be directed to prepare a report in regards to the Riga Festival Society's proposed Marginal Arts Festival.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councilor Carlson. Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor
Just
Carlson.
wanted to say that I think this is a great idea, so I hope that we can all be successful.
Councilor Holmes.
One thing we've heard quite clearly from the public during the Cultural Plan Task Force is that the community ought to build on what we have. And I've always felt that George Riga's one of Summerland's greatest cultural assets. It's also one of Summerland's most underused cultural assets. And I think if this was most in many communities around the world, they had a writer of that stature from their community, they'd be all over this in terms of celebrating him. So I think this is a long overdue initiative.
Well, I think Councilor Holmes, with the community's efforts, and I think this is a direction we're looking at. So certainly, I think if we pass this, we will be moving on it. So thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. The motion passes. None opposed. Thank you. Okay, number 6, public comment opportunity. This is an opportunity for, thank you, Barbara and group. Appreciate your input. Number 6, we're going to proceed. This is a public commentary opportunity to speak to council on any highlighted items. And I'd like the participants to, anybody who wishes to speak, to limit their comments to 2 minutes, please. And then we can proceed. There will be no comment by council at this time. It's just information that we receive to use in our deliberations later in the agenda. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, council and municipal staff. Mayor,
So it's,
can you hear me okay?
yep.
Sorry,
just
I've been
name
suffering
and
from a
address.
cold. I'm
As
still
if we don't know
quite
you, but go
congested.
ahead.
I'd like to discuss the item on tonight's agenda that addresses the siting policy for a cellular antenna in Summerland.
Yes, sir.
And I thank staff for their contributions to the matter of a siting policy for Summerland. However, I don't believe that it is possible for municipal staff to truly understand this complex issue that we have brought forward to you. What I do hope, however, is that staff has the ability to truly consult with the public, to come up with a recommendation that moves this issue forward in a way that best serves the interests of all stakeholders in our community. The memo from staff does not move the matter forward in a constructive manner. It really requires a nice round table with all interests represented. I don't want to see this just go back to staff, but rather to go forward with some form of consultation. We have people in the community with a lot of interest and expertise in this matter who are more than willing to be a part of a consultative process. That did not occur. This meeting tonight is not really the best venue to discuss this issue. It really requires a more consultative approach. And just as we have the choice to determine what type of foods we eat for various reasons, we are asking for the choice of just how much radiation we can be exposed to. I ask that council ask staff to embark upon a process where consultation and expert advice are part of the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Is there anybody else like to address council? Come up, please.
My name is Ron Nissim, and the address is 10208 Hedrell Avenue. And good evening, Mayor, councillors, and staff. And I'm here with a short message that my personal concern here is health. And I think that in our days we are being, I would call it, bombarded with radiation from all kinds of sources. For me, antennas, and I have one which is 850 meters from my house, but it's been measured to get radiation inside the house. So for me, exactly like people are free to breathe without smoke in their face, then me and my family are entitled to live without radiation at our body, without any control. So for me, the aspect of health is most important, and I would like to raise the bar for the health aspect, and that's what I had to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mayor and Councillors. My name is Hans Caro, and I'm representing the Coalition to Reduce the Electric Pollution, and I've been involved in the electromagnetic radiation issue since 1990, when I was diagnosed electrosensitive. I sent you this morning an email regarding the cell tower policy, and I got an email from Councillor Pique, and I responded to you a little bit late this afternoon. I came home late afternoon with copy to the rest, and I really urge to read my 2 emails. And because of my long-term involvement in this issue, I have been involved also as intervener in many power line hearings, addressing mainly and only the electromagnetic radiation issue. And I've involved in organizing meetings like Dr. Malcolm Patterson in Caledon, Penticton, and Kelowna, and even here lately in Summerland. I have connections to all the independent experts around the globe, and I really invite staff and council to ask me for any information they would like to have, and specific studies or any questions. You have to see both sides of the issue and not just listen to Dr. Perry Kandel, the provincial health officer, whom I have challenged many times. He has responded many times to my emails, but not to one particular letter I sent to him on January 6th in 2000 and I don't remember, 13 or so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, John.
Good evening, John Dorn. I'm here representing the Summerland Legion, and I wish to speak to the proposed street naming bylaw. Although this may not affect the bylaw as proposed this evening, I think my comments need to be considered. The District of Summerland has had a long-standing policy of selecting new street names from the names of those of the servicemen and women who are denoted on our cenotaph. Council has deviated from this policy by approving Lighthouse Landing, noting that Landing was not on the policy list, and that our Heritage Committee recommended Treffery Street in honor of a Trout Creek resident, Joe Treffery, who was unfortunately killed in the First World War. Council should take note that there is a resurging practice in our town in honoring the war dead. This is amply demonstrated by the fulfillment of our Summerland Remembrance banner project and the continuing increase in the attendance at the annual Remembrance Day Memorial. The Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 22, encourages Council to formalize the current cenotaph naming policy in the bylaw under consideration tonight. We feel that by enshrining the policy in a bylaw will make it more difficult for this and future councils to circumvent the wishes of previous council. And if I could have your indulgence to speak on a second topic. This is in regards to Council's favorable decision to support the George Riga Festival. On May the 13th, the Summerland Legion will have the first annual Summerland Friday the 13th motorcycle rally. This is based on a festival that's run in Port Dover, Ontario, which is a town of 6,000 people, and it attracts more than 125,000 motorcycle enthusiasts every Friday the 13th. So May 13th will be the first annual version of that project here in Summerland. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else like to speak this evening? Go ahead. Mr. Adams.
I'm just going to slide in on the cultural thing because one of the best kept secrets that's been happening for the last 14 months is that there has been an exhibit of about 25 of Irvin Adams' original paintings that have been hung at Government House in Victoria. When I was approached by the Lieutenant Governor directly back in November through Paul Crawford from the Penticton Art Gallery, and so amazingly enough, I lent my original Irvin Adams paintings, and hopefully people know who that is, to the Lieutenant Governor. And after they had been sitting there or hung there for 6 months, she invited me down to an opening of the show. I was actually supposed to be getting them back at that time, but because of the popularity of the display of those paintings, it went on for another year. And so approximately 15,000 people have seen the display of my uncle's paintings at Government House. It was really quite a spectacular thing, and it's too bad that I have to tell you that it's now over because it's been there for almost 15 months, and it was really quite spectacular. The Lieutenant Governor put this together because she felt that the interior of the province, she being a resident of Merritt, was not, the population wasn't getting a clear picture of the art of the interior of British Columbia. So I'm sorry to be reporting that it's over, but it was very successful, and it put Summerland on the map once again. So George Riga is a wonderful man, but my uncle also made a great contribution to this community and was recognized around the world for his art. So,
Thank you, Brian. That's great. I think it lends credence to the idea that we certainly are potentially and have been a center for arts. So anything we can do to expand that and focus on it, I think will be good for the community. Anybody else like to speak this evening before we move on? Hearing none, we'll move ahead to page. You know it. Mayor's report. I thought it was going to be short, but it's not as short as last time. I had the pleasure of attending the Chamber of Commerce nominees reception January 28th at the Arena Banquet Room. This is a great opportunity to recognize all 57 nominees across 11 categories for their efforts and contributions to the community. Nesters again did a wonderful job of appetizer plates, and Bottleneck Drive provided wine and cider. This will culminate in the awards gala at the Waterfront Resort February 27th. Please take time to vote for your preference in the categories. At that time, I will also be awarding the Mayor's Award of Excellence to honor a community organization. At the end of January, the district received notice that our project of the Okanagan Fur Brigade Linear Trail Park, which was nominated for a Heritage BC Award in the Heritage Conservation category, won at the recognition level. It is likely, and I believe are you moving ahead on it? Councillor Peak is going to be attending as one of the liaisons to the Cultural and Heritage Commission at the Heritage Awards Gala, February 18th, at the Imperial Hotel in Vancouver. This award speaks to the dedicated effort of community members and to the Heritage Commission. Another area where there was some discussion recently was trail development, and it's been the topic of a number of meetings. Since the completion of the Lakeside Trail between Lowertown and Trout Creek, discussion has centered on continuation of that project with excellent advocacy from the Trails of the Okanagans group, as well as development of the KVR rail bed from Research Station to Penticton. There will be more discussions and meetings with decisions coming forward in the near future. Other than the regular RDUS board meeting, which Councillor Boot and I attend, I also attended the Okanagan Basin Water Board meeting February 2nd in Kelowna. Several topics were covered that are interesting for us. There were comments on our winter and El Nino. The extremely low snowpack we experienced in 2015 is not commonly associated with El Nino events, and some of the snow pillow data that's coming out now shows us trending more or less along average lines. The more pronounced effects of El Nino occur from February to April. This appears to be the case as we will experience above normal temperatures and decreased precipitation probably through till April. The other information referred to environmental flow needs of streams. This is primarily a determination of water requirements for fish flows. It's a project that's being worked on by contractors under the Water Stewardship Council. The first phase of a study on methodology will be completed by April. And the second phase will implement those methods to establish EFNs for streams where there is a limited understanding of fish flows and regular environmental flows. And it will be building on the modeling developed from the 2010 water supply and demand study that the Okanagan Basin Okanagan Basin Water Board did before. In Summerland, we're one of the few communities where we do have environmental flows established that were done back in 2004. We're pretty much a model for that, and we know what our flows have to be to maintain fish habitat. So that's my report. CAO?
Great. I've just got a few things tonight. One, just so council's aware, operational item, but relevant in the community. We have a water leak has been discovered in Deer Ridge, and we're having quite a few phone calls come into the office They thought they had found the source of the leak on Thursday, but there's still quite a bit of water, and it's still leaking. They've been monitoring with the reservoir. We can tell from the difference between how much the reservoir is going down and what's going through the meters on whether there's a significant leak, and there is. The problem is that it's the type of pipe that it is, the leak detection, the acoustics don't show up very well, so it's been very difficult to trace where the leak is originating from. At this moment in time, we don't know if it's a district water main or if the leak is actually occurring on private property. So staff is diligently trying to track it. They can isolate separate areas, and then they take it offline for a while, and then put it back on and compare with the meter. So there's quite a bit of work that can be done. Unfortunately, in doing that procedure, it will cause certain houses to be off water for a few hours, and also may result in a boil water advisory. We've been dealing with the IHA on that. So the residents that are being affected will be receiving some documentation and door-to-door visits from district staff. If there's any questions on that, they can direct them to me, and I'll get the updated information. So wanted to let you know about that. On a nice note, yesterday, as you know, was Family Day. We had a successful event at the arena. The arena staff had applied for a $1,000 grant from BC Recreation and Parks Association, which were specifically for Family Day events. So we sponsored free skating and free skate rentals, and the first 25 families got into the steam game for free. And over 200 people took part in the skating event. So
Wow.
They were really pleased with that. And Joanne was our program coordinator for that program. Another little note, we did receive confirmation from SILGA that they received the resolution, and that we passed last meeting on the education funding levels. And then Chris Johnson, who is our new Director of Works and Utility, I received notification late last week that he has successfully received his professional engineering designation here in BC, because of course he was designated in Alberta, so that's a good thing. And then lastly, I don't know if we've spoken too much yet about an event that's being worked on with Penticton, Naramata, and Summerland. And that is a Cycle Fest event, and it's going to be held on May 7th. And the details are just coming out. We are committing some funds through the economic development funding that the organizers are hoping they're going to reach 400 riders in the first year, with some long-term potential for the events. So there'll be more details on that, but I wanted to make sure council was aware of it if you had heard something from Naramata or from the Chamber or from Penticton. And that is my report for tonight.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move forward to item 10.1, information items. Is there anybody on council who would like to raise any issues from the correspondence? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, regarding Mr. Shirley Bond's letter about Syrian refugees, I just wanted to give a bit of a clarification and update on that. So as our Summerland group, we're also looking, her letter refers strictly to the government-sponsored refugees as opposed to privately sponsored refugees. Our group has been looking at both, and as she says in her letter, there's only one organization in all of BC that provides reception and support for government-sponsored refugees, and so you've probably heard in the news that there's 680 some odd refugees staying in hotels in Vancouver, and they're all backed up. And as she says there, that they can't cope with that, and so they've asked the government to put a pause on taking more refugees in. So meanwhile, here in Summerland, we've had numerous landlords that come forward offering affordable accommodation, but we can't get any government refugees in the Okanagan at all, because the only organizations bringing them in is based in Vancouver. So many of us who are following this kind of identified this as kind of a flaw in the government's plan at the beginning, but On Friday, I think the government finally recognized that, and they released details that they would invite communities outside the traditional networks of cities to develop plans to welcome government-assisted refugees. And South Okanagan Immigration Community Services, SOICs, are applying to the federal government to allow them to facilitate that. So that's all good news. I don't know how long that whole process will take, but once that's in place, the Okanagan will be able to accept the government sponsored refugees as well as the privately sponsored ones.
So will your group be able to integrate their efforts with?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, thank you. Anybody else to say anything regarding correspondence? Hearing none, could I have the motion brought forward to receive the information, please? Councillor Peak, thank you.
That the following items of correspondence and interest have been received and will by the council and will be acted upon.
Seconder, please. Councillor Carlson. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. None opposed. Okay, next item, 10.2. Committee and commission minutes. Any comments there from council? Hearing none, can you have a motion brought forward, please? Councillor Carlson.
Sure. I'll move that the minutes from council and committee commissions attached to this report be received by council.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Development services reports. And staff and other reports, 12. CAO?
We'll have Mr. Deniger introduce the item, and I'll speak after.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so at council's direction, staff were asked to investigate coming up with a policy regarding cellular antennas. At this time, there is no policy at all. We would simply, if there was a new application, we would follow the procedures or guidelines from Industry Canada. The FCM, in collaboration with the cell phone industry, came up with a template for an antenna siting policy, which has a more rigorous public consultation built into it. Staff have met with some citizens who are concerned who brought this issue to the attention of council. We met late last year, and lots of information was provided, almost an overwhelming amount of information, which made it rather clear to staff quite quickly that this is a much bigger topic than this, or at least the health and environmental aspects are a much bigger topic and a much more complicated issue than district staff can probably tackle at this time with their current levels of staffing and expertise. So we looked at some of the policies that other municipalities have adopted in BC, and they almost unanimously appear to be based on the FCM template. Some have been morphed quite a bit, made to be their own, but the template itself seems to be the basis of most of these policies. And in all but one instance, the policies stuck quite closely to the breadth of what the template deals with, which is the public consultation, the siting, keeping it away from schools and hospitals and other areas where it's not quite as desirous. So that's what staff are suggesting at this point, is that if Summerland wants to move forward with a policy for siting, that it be based on the FCM template. There is room in it for quite a bit of customization for our own municipality, but there is nothing specifically in it regarding health or environmental concerns. And so the recommendation from staff is that those concerns be dealt with at a political level, perhaps, through UBCM and FCM applying pressure to the levels of government that are explicitly given jurisdiction to deal with those issues, such as Industry Canada and Health Canada.
And just to add one bit on that, I think what we're really suggesting is that FCM has done this work, so that is the level that staff feels that they could provide council with sufficient information. If council felt that they wanted to go further into the issue and start looking at the health issues and environmental issues, there would have to be funds associated with it to bring in an outside contractor to work on our behalf because staff doesn't have the background. They are subject to a very passionate group of people that staff only has a limited capability of the knowledge themselves. We're not experts in this area either. So I think that if council didn't want to stay with the FCM, that we'd have to look at, if council wanted to move forward, have to look into assigning some funds to it.
Can I ask a sort of a clarifying question then on what you just said? So if we were to sort of work with the template, in essence, it sounds to me from what our corporate officer said, that we can massage it. Does that include to the extent where we may set aside funds in a budget to have a contractor look at it for those health concerns and include that as part of a section of our own aspect of the template?
Certainly have FCM did the work because that's what UBCM and FCM is for. They're supposed to build policy or research policy that is common to every municipality, either in BC or across Canada. So they've done that work. They've come up with that, but it's by no means mandated. So if council wanted to take it on as Summerland, you certainly could change to, or they could, put it into the budget discussions if you so desired, and
see, that's
look at
what
it with
I
priorities.
see. Well, that's what I see us looking at, is looking at this existing recommendation, which allows us to work with the template, massage it, and since we're now at the point of our strategic planning, we're about to have strategic planning sessions and budget sessions as we move forward through the spring, and this could be a consideration that council could make to perhaps add to our template consultation process in the future? Is that what you're saying?
If that was
Yeah.
a priority for
Yeah.
you, then yes, you could.
So, but right
you
now-
could start on having a basic policy that covers what FCM, the areas that FCM recommends covering, and you could look into it for further work which would have funds associated as a add-on later.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Carlson.
So if a company came to us today and wanted to put up a new tower somewhere, if we don't have a policy in place, what is the procedure as opposed to if we did have one in place?
We would follow the guidelines that Industry Canada gives us, which
Okay.
is a couple of policy documents. And it's much less stringent about the actual details of the public consultation. It's quite minimal. The FCM template would have dealt with, for example, when Rogers upgraded their equipment and added it onto the existing tower. Under the regulations purely from Industry Canada, no consultation required. Under this policy, we would probably have had consultation. So it gets the groundwork laid so that when the next thing comes up, we're ready for it, not scrambling under a time crunch to try and figure out how to consult and to what degree.
So to follow that then, so if we have a cellular antenna policy that doesn't necessarily contain every detail that perhaps the public who are concerned about it would wish to see, it still enables us to then have a consultation process if we're being asked to put more cell towers in place.
Absolutely.
And those concerns can be heard and addressed at that time.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't have to be extra within a policy, is that correct?
That's correct.
And even during the development of Summerland's policy, if we move forward with the FCM template, there's sections in it about siting that could, in a roundabout way, deal with some of those concerns, like setting the distances from schools, hospitals, and care centers, so that it might not be a direct statement about the power levels, but it does create those spaces around sensitive areas.
Great, thank you.
I think Councillor Peak and Councillor Holmes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I believe that the FCM policy would be a starting point and a foundation document that we could look at as we move forward in any of the more specific terms. If council wished to do consultation or wish to have funds put aside, not clear to me at this point that we have the resources or the funds available to do that, but it could be certainly part of our discussion.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
So putting a policy in, following the FCM, that would apply to future sightings, or would it also apply to existing sightings? And
Future sightings and any changes to existing sightings.
so how would you address the one that's at issue on Little Conkle Mountain here, that, whether, can Industry Canada or somebody come in and give us their opinion on on the health, I don't know when that was put in on Little Conkle Mountain, but, that's the issue right now, and not necessarily future ones, but current issue.
I believe, what I understand is that they have regular reporting to Industry Canada, and they must be compliant to Industry Canada. However, whether or not Industry Canada is as stringent as we ultimately want to be. But from what I understand, there's, from talking when I originally looked into this, they were under fairly strict reporting guidelines there. So
I think just to inject that, I think it was, it was definitely in between 204, 205 and 208, I think that was 209? 209? Okay, it was 209, it was discussed in 208 though, because I was involved, but, that was we didn't have anything like this that we could at least do some consultation with, and we did not have anything like this in place when add-ons came along, as our corporate officer just said. And I don't know what the circumstances might be when renewal of the contract for that site comes up. So if we don't have something in place, at least the initial stuff in place, we're going to be just as bad off as we were when it went in, and just as bad off as we are right now. So Councillor Barkle and then Councillor Trainer.
Writing a policy on consultation is easy. The issue here is the level of radiation that, or whether we set a standard for the level of radiation. The policy that Machosen has a 1 microwatt per square centimeter. What's the industry standard, Industry Canada's standard for? That's the issue to grapple with, is do we want to set a standard, not all this consultation stuff. And I'm not quite sure what a consultant would give us as far as information, being able to make that decision, whether we want to get involved in setting a radiation standard.
I think the consultation, though, is not so much the contractor, it's consultation with the public. What does the public want here in Summerland? We have people, we received an email today of someone that's very supportive to, and says the health issue isn't yours, it's a bigger story than yours. We have people that very much believe this is where it starts. So the question is, there's other municipalities or regions in the province that grapple with the same question. Do we limit it, or do we become even more?
So does Industry Canada have a standard?
Industry Canada has a standard that they received from Health Canada, which is, from my understanding, not as stringent as some of the guidelines that are now coming out of the WHO and other countries have adopted. But they are the ones who have the explicit jurisdiction over it. Under the community charter, we do have rights to take care of the health of our community, but we lack the expertise to know whether this is a viable level.
I think that's, there's studies and there's cases, and I think that's the key here, that if we are going to if we're going to look at starting to set the standards, that can't be done. That can't be done. Staff is not able to provide council with an educated enough. It's a very complex subject that.
I think just before Councillor Trainer comes in, I recognize what you're saying, Councillor Barkle, but I think what I was trying to impress upon earlier was that we need this in place to move forward to where you want to be and where I think the community wants to be. If we don't make this first step, then we can't make the other steps. So I think this is a good indication of where this council wants to go. I know a number of us feel fairly strongly, but we still have to operate within guidelines and not put the community at any litigation risk as we move forward. So we've got to do things carefully and appropriately. Councillor Trainer.
I have just a quick question about the one on Conkle. When that was put in, if we didn't have a policy, we don't have one right now, what guidelines was that held to when it was put in?
It would just be Industry Canada.
Industry Canada.
Industry Canada.
Okay.
Yeah. They lease the site from us is what it comes down to. So, any more questions of staff? Councillor Barkle?
Is there any, does Industry Canada go around and measure and confirm, just like they would measure the gas pumps and whatever else, and the water and such like that?
I was led to believe that the answer to that is yes when I had initial conversations, but I don't, but that's not a confirmed yes. I was told that it was monitored, but I don't know. So, yeah.
Okay, would someone like to, Councillor Holmes?
So with the recommendation to present an antenna policy at a future meeting, the thinking there would be that it would be something based along the FCM's template? That's correct. That's the thinking? Okay.
But I think in filling that template out, it involves consultation and to make it more Summerland built, so to speak. There's room within the template to do that.
But it's still, we need to be
No.
clear here, the
No.
template would not address some of the concerns
No,
that
not
are,
the
that are
levels,
being
not the
expressed,
levels.
yeah.
Councillor Peak?
I was going to say, the template allows a foundation. Whether you take it further is up to your council and your discussions thereafter. But it gives you a foundation to work from and to have a greater certainty of how you lay out those matters that the council and the people would be
I think it's
concerned
an
with.
important first step. Someone like to bring the motion forward, please? Councillor Holmes?
Move that staff present a cellular antenna policy harmonized with federal legislation and regulations at a future meeting of council.
Seconder, Councillor Peak, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Booth?
My question is referring to that recommendation. Does that covers the template, the FCM template? Does it also cover an additional consultation with this group of concerned
Consultation
citizens?
is included in the FCM template. I
Okay.
think you may want to consider a friendly amendment to specify the
Specify
FCM,
that.
the FCM template, following the FCM template.
Are you okay with that, Doug?
I suppose so. You do a second line for the last
Uh-oh.
Now you can't do that.
What happened just
He's trying to get back at her.
Yeah, he's trying to get back at me.
Councillor Carlson?
Just to add to that, so we've heard that it's straightforward enough to use this template. However, if we're going to be going into great detail and to having full-on public consultation, we do not have the staff and financial resources to make that happen. Therefore, if we decide to do that without permission of the finance officer, we can't.
Right.
Is that correct?
Has to be
Right,
in the
we would be
So unless
sticking
we've
with.
already put the money towards something, and said we have the money to do this, we can't necessarily take this to the higher level at this point in time.
This would be strictly at the level we're talking about here, and it would have to come back or be part of future discussions for taking it further, yes.
Councillor Holmes?
Well, the consultation stuff doesn't really come in terms of putting the policy in place. It comes in once you have the policy that then you have to consult for future projects, no?
It would actually be both. We would be consulting during the development of certain sections of this policy about siting around sensitive areas.
That's what I understood.
But only to a certain degree, based on
That's correct.
resources.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
Correct,
Right.
within the
Unless-
bounds of the template.
Okay.
Unless council decides
But
during
that's not what
budget
we're doing right now.
considerations to
Right.
go further.
But I think that needs to be loud and clear, that that's why we're here tonight, to get clear direction from council that we can stop at this point in time, that we don't have the authority for the extra resources,
Right.
and that there is that, and that was the issue that we were having, or that Jeremy was having, was, not having that clear direction. So this helps this step, and then we can look at further steps, if that's what council's wish is.
Councillor Holmes?
Well, what sort of resources are required for developing the policy?
Well, this policy within the template,
Yeah.
that's manageable within staff resources.
Councillor Peak?
So, do we need a
Do you
seconder
have
on
a
a
seconder?
friendly amendment? I'm
We
not.
didn't, we were
We
kind
don't
of
have a
messing
seconder
around.
for the friendly.
Did
We
we have
should
a
have-
seconder?
Not on a second, just on the motion. Do
We
we
do
have
on-
a?
yes.
We have a seconder? Yeah, we're okay then.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Okay, we move forward. All in favor, please? You had a question or a discussion point, Councillor?
Question,
Barkle? No question of staff at this time. This is just a discussion.
Oh, just a discussion.
Right.
I was going to follow up Councillor Holmes' question.
You do the questions of staff prior to moving into the motion. But if you have something specific that's going to help us, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, so following up on Councillor Holmes' question about do we have or what sort of resources would be needed, what sort of resources would be needed to help us decide what sort of EMF levels would be appropriate for the residents of Summerland? And that's the issue that, the second step, that's the big question mark.
But if it's
right?
a second step, I think that's what we need to talk about at the second stage. I mean, it's a whole nother conversation, and the council either has to tell us, and then we come back at another meeting. Right now, we don't have that information, any background on it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what it would take to help us make a...
Well, that's what we'll get into in an additional discussion if we pass this. Anything else? Okay. All in favor? Thank you.
We're voting on the amended?
We didn't have any.
Yeah, we did.
With the
Had a
friendly
friendly
amendment.
amendment
Friendly
that
amendment.
just
Okay.
added following the FCM template.
Okay.
We're clear?
Clear? So we're voting on the amendment, or it's an amended?
No, it's just a motion because it was a friendly amendment, so it's just a motion.
I would just like to ask one question of the CAO. So, is that adequate to, I understand that it's a budget consideration for the further resources, but does that need to be part of the recommendation?
No, because council will be free to bring it forward in any discussions that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, thank
Thanks.
you.
Are you ready?
I am ready now.
All in favor? Thank you. The motion passes. None opposed. Thank you. I think, recognizing that's a first step, and I think it's an important step to move forward on. So, thank you. So we're moving to 12.2, Little Chicks Child Care Provincial Grant Application.
Let's
You
speak
dealing
to
with that, Corporate Officer?
Yep. So this is a request from Little Chicks Child Care Center. They have applied to the Ministry of Children and Family Development for a child care major capital funding program in the hopes that if awarded, they'll be able to expand the number of child care spots, which Summerland apparently badly needs. So they're just looking for support from council to help their grant application.
Okay. Questions from council?
And we should know, I think it was clear in Jeremy's comments, it's just a letter of support that they need, that the letter report will basically say that we support additional childcare spaces in Summerland. It's a generic.
Okay. Councillor Carlson?
I will move that council support the grant application by Little Chicks Daycare Child Care Center to the Ministry of Children and Family Development Child Care Major Capital Funding Program for 2015 and 16.
Support. Okay. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes? Any further discussion?
Pretty clear.
Okay. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. None opposed. Okay. Summerland Sportsmen's Association OBWB grant application. Dealing with that, CAO?
We will have Mr. Denninger talk to that one.
So a request has come from the Sportsmen's Association applying to the OBWB Water Control Program grant. They would like to do some studies about Trout Creek and the slow sliding that is occurring into it and the silt that's coming out of that slide and from the runoff. There's a number of activities that they'd like to dig into, and this is simply another letter of support for their grant application. Basically, the more information we can get about Trout Creek, the better.
Just a further note on that, it's in the report, but I think when this first came forward, there was some discussion from staff on whether it was appropriate for a third party to be looking for grants to do some study, and it's been discussed that it absolutely would need to be made to work closely with staff. So he has had they have had some initial conversations with Mr. Johnson, and I think that would be important all along, that they were working collaboratively with the district on this. We're still waiting to hear back from the province on our trip that the presentation we made at UBCM. I understand there's some more feedback coming, but it hasn't made it to this table yet.
Yeah, that was actually my question, just a minute, Councillor Carlson, that we had made that presentation and we haven't heard anything because that's,
Yeah, they have had.
we were looking at all the potential of examining the situation.
That's right. So it's, they have had more than one meeting subsequent, I understand, within the emergency management and a number of other groups, but they have not formally come back to us yet.
Okay. Councillor Carlson?
So in writing a letter of support for a project like this, knowing that we are hoping to also be taking action and working with this group, is that part of the letter, or is that aside, if they're applying for something from, like, is that an aside to it?
We could actually add in the letter that, that council is hoping to work very closely with this, or is expecting to work very closely with this group on these results for the better of the district.
If that is a good way to move it, I think that we should at least add that.
Okay, I think we had a couple before you, Councillor Trainer. Councillor Peak? Or
Yes.
Councillor Holmes, one of the two.
I'd like to say that I'm pleased with the Sportsman Association coming forward. I'm also glad that there have been discussions with staff, because I think that collaboration needs to be done inside as well as with the association. But I think it's a great opportunity to have our public interested in acting on these kind of issues. So I think there's an opportunity here.
Councillor Holmes? No. Councillor Trainer?
I was just wondering, this might be a silly question, but why does the Summerland Sportsmen Association, why are they interested in this?
Fishing.
I know Mr. Carlton would like
Because-
to speak, but I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Are we free to
No.
deviate from our
No.
Fishing?
policy?
Okay.
No, I think there was an opportunity, Dave, to speak.
We've got our opportunity when it comes to our section.
No, it was
Right.
early on, you could have spoken, but we're good, don't worry about it.
Fishing? Yes.
Well, yeah, actually,
Okay.
the Sportsmen's Association would be concerned about the sediment in the stream
Yeah.
and so on, and that was addressed in their comments, so.
And I just had two more questions. Who will be doing the study or the work on this? Like, if they get the grant, who would do the work?
But they would be responsible for getting the consultant, or they may or may not have already identified someone, but hopefully, and I haven't personally talked with them, but hopefully there would be collaboration with the district in who they were looking at using.
So would we get to see the results of this, like of the study?
Oh, if we're
Yeah.
working in collaboration,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
That, and I'm sure that there's, if we get indications or any positive movement forward from government, from our own presentations, then hopefully we can look at blending what happens, because there's no point in having two separate investigations going on. They need to be blended and not duplicated in any way. So, okay, any further questions? Someone like to bring the motion forward, please? Councillor Holmes.
I move that the grant application by the Summerland Sportsmen's Association for the proposed project entitled Action Plan to Reduce Sediment Input into Truck Creek from the Perpetual Slide for consideration by the Okanagan Basin Water Board's 2016-17 Water Conservation and Quality Improvement Program be supported.
Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any further discussion? I think it's a good project, and anything to further our knowledge on this, it's of great concern. It's one of those things that's been, we talked about it quite a bit a few months ago, and that's what initiated our discussions in Victoria. And government was quite concerned about the potential of that slide. There's lots of implications environmentally as well as the overall slide, so I think it's good to move ahead on this. Councillor Barkle?
Yeah, I just would like to mention, I thought it was an excellent presentation, excellent slide. And for the benefit of the Sportsmen Association, let them know that what council knows, that I've been in touch with the people from UBC who go over that slide every year and who are specialists in that type of work. And I will put you in contact with them as well, because they're quite interested in contributing. There's one student who might do some master's work on the slide. They have a drone that they want to do they'll make a 3D rendering of the slide, and then from that they can check the movement. If their only caveat is to some areas are kind of treed where it might be difficult, but all of these groups, can work together, and it sounds like we're finally going to get somewhere. Everybody's got the same goal.
I think that's what I was trying to say a minute ago, that whatever groups are involved, including UBC, that they collude and we don't have unnecessary overlap or duplication when a full report come out. So, someone bring that forward. We read it, didn't we? All in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried. And opposed? Okay, we're moving to 12.4, proposed 216 cost increase for transit service. Corporate officer or
No,
CEO?
we will take that to Ms. Coates.
Ms. Coates, right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before you tonight, Council, is a report on the cost of operating the transit service in Summerland. We are not far enough along yet in our budget work to have reviewed this in the normal course of that. And BC Transit has asked that Council, that the district give them a decision on whether or not the funds that they're requesting will be approved for the 2016-2017 operating year. So the full amount that Summerland's share would be for the cost of operating the transit service is $128,957. Of note is that included in that amount is an additional increase of $5,508 for fixed costs beyond what would be normal increases. The contractor that provides the fixed route bus service in Summerland has been operating at a funding level that's around 72% of the average for this type of service across the province. So by putting this additional increase of just over $5,500 in place, it would bring the funding level for that service to the average for Tier 3 service systems. Attached as an appendix is a summary of the cost of the transit service operating agreements over the last few years. And you can see that even with that build-in of the extra $5,500, the increase for the 2016-17 year is 0.61%, so a modest increase overall. There was a larger increase in this past year in an attempt to bring some of these costs in line with where our service needs them to be. Of note, too, is that this is the third operating year that we're going into for this service, so every year our information that we receive from BC Transit gets better and better. So at this time, what I'm asking for is that Council approve the full amount that would be included in the financial plan.
And just an addendum to that, I had the opportunity, I was at a meeting with Transit today and followed up with, I had 2 additional questions for them. One was how long the contractor's contract with BC Transit was for, and it's actually an ongoing contract. It's not a specified term, so there's a 90-day clause. Either party can leave the contract at any time. But there's no specified ending time. And secondly, asked, is the contractor doing a good job with them? And I had got a very resounding yes from BC Transit as far as their feeling that with all the key comparables that they do, they feel that they're doing a very good job.
Thank you. Councillor Peak.
I'm pleased to hear of the transit services recommendation in terms of the contracting work that's being done, because they would have comparables across the province for other services, so we could depend on their opinion as well. I feel it's possible that we can do this $5,508, that it would benefit our community.
Councillor Holmes.
Is there any way we can tie a review of the schedule into this increase?
When the meeting that I was at with Transit today involved the different municipalities, and it was we've been exploring the whole regionalization of schedules, and looking at the opportunities to tie, to, not a regional service at this point in time, but looking at rating the services. So Transit has made it clear that for the next 3 years, there won't be any service increases. They've frozen their funding, but they are looking at scheduling opportunities to improve the scheduling, so we're starting those discussions now.
Any other comments?
If I just might add one thing. At the RDOS table, they've been talking about putting together a regional steering committee following the, oh, did you want to speak
That was
to
what
that?
the meeting that I was
Oh,
at
yes.
today, we were looking
Okay.
at what the steering committee might look like as far as, and there's a report to come to council. It's just a little too early right now.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Councillor Barkle?
Who sets the rates? Do we, or does BC Transit set the rates?
In collaboration, BC Transit and the municipality, and that's one of the issues right now with this idea of moving between districts, is that the rates are different between Summerland or Osoyoos or Karamias or Summerland. So that's one of the things we're looking at.
Someone like to bring the motion forward, please? Councillor Peak?
That the district share of the 2016 cost to operate the transit service in Summerland in the amount of $128,957 are approved, and the 2016 financial plan include this amount.
Seconder, please. Councillor Carlson? Any further discussion? I'd just like to add that I think, just our service here took off in sort of leaps and bounds, and we were way ahead in terms of ridership on other startups. So I think, I'm hoping that as we move forward that schedules can be improved, because I think once there's improved schedules over what there is now, the ridership will just go through the roof, because I think there's a lot of people who would take advantage of things. Anyway, all in favor? Motion passed, thank you. And opposed, 12.5, Build Canada grant. Through to CFO? Or
I believe that Devin will make this presentation.
Oh,
Excuse me.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
So the purpose of this report is for this wastewater treatment plant root removal and effluent filtration project to be considered the most critical capital project of the district's 10-year capital plan, and also to receive approval to proceed with preparing the grant application. The design and tender were completed in 2012. Grant applied for at that time. Again in 2015, costs were reviewed and grant applied for. The existing grant only allows a single application per local government. The submission deadline is this April 28th, and it provides 2/3 funding for eligible costs. Based on staff review, this project was identified as the most critical and recommended that it be approved for grant application. So, two parts to this project, the grit removal and the effluent filter. The filter has no redundancy, which is probably the largest issue. Every time any work is done on the filter, permission is required from MOE to bypass the system, which then allows unfiltered treated water to be discharged into the lake. MOE has some concerns with, or some reluctance in providing this bypass as they have on a regular basis. And they do expect that the district is working towards a long-term solution for this issue. MOE has also indicated implementation of more strict regulations And the current filtration system may simply not be able to comply with these regulations. Filters partially failed again now. Complete failure, if it were to happen, would get IHA involved. Beaches may be closed. They would likely send out notification for users of the lake, and particularly for those who do draw the water from the lake for drinking. A budget request for $250,000 to rebuild the existing underdrain is being considered if the full upgrades are delayed any further. If this budget request were to be approved this year, then we would simply hold off on that project until we receive notification of the funding application for the full grit removal and effluent filtration. The grit removal system, part of the project, currently by design is almost non-existent, and this lack of ability to pull fines out or grit out causes damage to the system, premature maintenance and replacement, and increased staff time for cleaning. Financially, as I mentioned, the grant program would fund 2/3 of the eligible project costs. The costs for this project were estimated in 2015 to be $3,105,500. So based on that estimate, the district would fund approximately $1 million of this. So should council decide to proceed under this program, the design would be fully reviewed once again, and the cost estimate would have to be updated as well. There's currently $739,000 in our sewer bylaw reserves that council could direct to this project, and then to make up the $1 million, the $300,000 shortfall could be borrowed or allocated from surplus if it was available. As well, a follow-up report to council prior to submission of the application would come forward with updated costs, recommendation for funding of the district's portion as well.
So just to be clear on that, so we're not actually asking for the decision on the funding tonight at all. Before it's actually submitted, we just want to not go towards putting the application in before getting that general direction from council.
So the rationale for establishing this project as a priority are the age of technologies in question, the failure of the filtration system creating an environmental risk that could negatively impact the lake and create a public health risk. Adding redundancy would eliminate the need for bypassing approval from the Ministry of Environment. And modern technologies would perform better and meet anticipated more stringent MOE requirements. Operational costs would be reduced, and life expectancy of wastewater treatment plant equipment would be increased. So based on the report and the rationale, staff is recommending that council pass a resolution giving the project priority for the Canada, British Columbia New Building Canada Fund, Small Communities Fund, and provide approval to proceed with the preparation of the application.
Okay, thank you. Questions of Devon staff or council? Councilor Peak.
Appreciate the report, and certainly with the tour we took on site, the necessity for this kind of application being a priority within our municipality is certainly understood by this council. I know it may be an odd question, but would the MOE in fact provide a letter that would also support our application, or do they do that?
I believe they would. We had discussed that, and we think it would be a good addition to the application.
And has the technology improved in the years that we have had this service going down, so that we will actually have a better solution than when we do get an opportunity to finance it?
For sure, it's improved quite significantly. It does year by year it improves. The main concern, as well as improved technology, is the fact that we would have 2 filter systems, so you continue to run a filtrated system while you repair one.
Certainly understand that. Thank you very much, Devin.
Councillor Carlson? No. Anybody else? Councillor Booth?
I have just a question of the CAO and perhaps of our CFO. Understanding that this is a small communities fund grant application, is there anything else that would be kind of competing with this application? I understand that this is, from Works and Utilities, considered a priority. Is there anything else that we need to look at?
No, when we bring these forward, we have utilities presenting it, but we vet it at a senior manager's level first of all to make sure it's the perspective of district-wide as the most important one, and we do believe this is.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Barkle?
Councillor Peak referred to as letter of support from the Ministry of Environment. What about a letter of support from Interior Health?
Just to be note, we do all sort. It's a fairly extensive as we're combining information together for a grant application. We go through a whole process of as many different things like that as possible.
And just out of curiosity, can you explain briefly what sort of things might have changed in the 15, 18 years since?
Technology?
Yeah.
Well, currently it's run through a system of steel plates, perforated steel plates. What they have currently is they use a fabric to run the effluent through, which is, I guess, the main difference is that it's a very fine mesh compared to just running it through perforated steel. And part of the difference too is the ability to clean it on a regular basis, pull the fabric out.
Councillor Peak?
When we went to the Silga conference, one of the tours I took was the Kamloops sewage treatment plant, and it was very apparent there because they used the fabrics you were speaking to, and of course I've toured other systems as well. It was most interesting. I was quite excited.
Anybody else? Okay, someone like to bring the motion forward? Councillor Holmes?
Move that the submission of a Canada, British Columbia New Building Fund, Canada Fund, Small Communities Fund application for the wastewater treatment plant grit removal and effluent filtration upgrades be approved.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer? Thank you. Any further discussion? Nothing really. I just want to ask the grit removal, you're saying basically we have really nothing in place for proper grit removal, right?
Yeah, it's a bar screen situation where long bars that
pretty minimal.
They filter out some rags and some of the larger material that comes into the plant, but in terms of grit, it really doesn't filter out anything.
Yeah, because that's been a concern for several years in terms of the equipment getting beat up after that part of the process. Okay, no more discussion. All in favor? Thank you. The motion's carried. Thank you, Deb. None opposed? Okay, we're into 12.6. Ice, you're up again.
Yeah. So the Summerland Reservoir Raw Water Screening Works and Slide Gates project. Report for information basically on the current state of the Raw Water Screening Works and Slide Gates project and the decision to sole source part of the installation to Aquability Projects Ltd. So last year staff brought a report to council basically regarding the safety concerns of entering the screening works at the Summerland Reservoir. WorkSafe BC regulation changes at the time restricted staff from entering the confined space to inspect and clean and repair any of the screens properly. A tender was produced and very high results, or high bid prices came of it. Staff recommended at the time that we not award the tender, and that we proceed instead by retaining a diver to inspect the gates and circulate an RFQ for the purchase of the equipment. So as per that recommended strategy to move forward, staff did retain a diving contractor to confirm gate models and sizes, remove the gates and confirm bolts, faces, and confirm the condition of the existing wall thimbles. An RFQ for slide gates, actuators, and valves was circulated, and equipment has now been ordered. Staff will now hire a diving contractor to install the gates and equipment, and this work really needs to be done by the middle of April, by the time we turn on irrigation, and ideally prior to the end of March. The 2016 budget request for $50,000 consists primarily of the installation of the slide gates and actuators by a diving contractor, and this is estimated at $30,000. In addition, there are electrical and mechanical works estimated to be under $20,000. So staff will be sole sourcing the installation of the slide gates and actuators to aquability projects to an upset limit of $30,000. And this was done primarily in the interest of time, the contractor's knowledge of the project, our history with the company, and our comfort with the diving contractor's ability and equipment to do the work.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Boot?
Devin, the additional electrical and mechanical works, that will be handled by our works and utilities?
Primarily, it'll be handled by staff, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Someone like to bring the motion forward, please? Councillor Traynor?
That the report, Summerland Reservoir Raw Water Screening Works and Slide Gates Project Update submitted by the Director of Works and Utilities on February 9th, 2016, be received for information.
Seconder, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Any further discussion? It's important. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay. There's no quarterly report from the RCMP, as we found out earlier. So we're moving ahead to bylaws.
And we'll move that, this one to Jeremy, although this one's just an adoption, a request for adoption, so we've already passed first reading, so unless there's further discussion, we might ask for a motion for adoption.
Councillor Carlson?
I will move the bylaw 2016-001, Southern Interior Bylaw Notice Dispute Adjudication Registry Agreement Bylaw be adopted. To do two separate.
Keep going.
And number 2, that bylaw 2016-002, bylaw notice enforcement bylaw number 2000-375, amendment number 2 be also adopted.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, can handle both of those at once. Councillor Boot, yes. Anything else, CAO, that you want to add before we move ahead? No? All in favor? Thank you. It's carried. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, 14.2. CAO, who's handling this?
14.2 is the street naming bylaw. So I'm just going to speak a little bit to it, and then Mr. McIntosh or Mr. Deniger may have something else to say. Last meeting, council passed a resolution regarding the street naming at Lighthouse Landing. It was a resolution. At that time, we were directed to prepare the amendment to the street naming bylaw. In the meantime, it was recognized that the street naming bylaw, which is supposed to name all the streets, hasn't been updated for many, many years. So the intent of bringing this forward today isn't to review our street naming policies or to change anything at this time. We can still do that if council's looking at doing that with some of the feedback we've heard. This is to update the bylaw to say these are all the names of the streets that are currently in Summerland, including the 3 that you passed a resolution from last week, and to put the GIS map in place. Subsequent to this, we've had some conversations with members of the public and members, or I should say the members of our Heritage Commission that have some question on some of the names, whether or not Garnet Road is 1 T or 2 T's, or but we're not making it or suggesting any changes to anything that isn't in this bylaw or that isn't from our records. But there may potentially be some tweaking once this is passed if there's identified from this that there's some issues or some questions, because there's lots of, we don't have a bylaw. So my thought is that if it looks like it's, unless there's anything that's an obvious concern, that we do this one now, and then on a one-off issue we look at some. We did have one question from a councillor earlier today, and that was to Jeremy. What was the outcome of that one?
Question regarding Bathville versus Bathfield. The list that we have of streets was cross-referenced through a number of departments in Canada Post and BC Assessment, and the signs on the poles. So we think it's correct, but
what's in here?
What's being proposed? We believe that's the most correct, but there could be alternate views.
There was some confusion. I had a visit today from Dr. Gregory, who felt that we were changing our process for naming streets and avenues and roads from doing this, and that's not the that's not the intent at all. At this point in time, the intent is strictly to update that schedule and the map that's attached.
Okay. Councillor Holmes, questions?
So is it, so the policy is still the policy?
The policy is still the policy, and we had the recommendation at the beginning of the meeting that we may decide we want to incorporate that into the bylaw to keep it all part of a bylaw, and that we may, that could be a feasible suggestion for the future to put it in there. It wouldn't make any difference if we approved this schedules today and then did amendment at a later date.
Okay, you kind of answered my question, but is it normal to have a bylaw and a policy on the same thing?
The policy would become a bylaw, and I think, and it is, oh, I see what you're saying. It could be in some cases where it would be where the policy goes into greater detail than a bylaw. I think we need to still do some more research into what best practices is for a street naming bylaw, and whether it should be a separate policy. We haven't had the opportunity to do that since we found out that it hasn't been done in accordance with the community charter. So I think the next step for us now is to look into exactly that. What is best practices for that, because I don't know.
Councillor Carlson.
Why is it a name changing bylaw? Is it often that we will change a name of something, or is it just a street name bylaw?
And that's the name of that is the name of the original bylaw, and that's what we're sticking with now. I think probably what we would do, because it is such an old one, is if we decided to amend it any further, we would actually rescind this bylaw and put a brand new one in with the proper name and all. So that would probably be the next step to clean it up.
Councillor Peak.
So this really clarifies and cleans us up and starts us again.
That's right. I don't think
clear schedule.
I don't think it finishes the process yet, but it takes us to where we are now, and then we can look into cleaning it up.
Okay, so Councillor Barkle.
So the way our policy reads now is that the names would be signed by Director of Development Services, and that part has to be changed, right?
That's right, that would be overridden. Development Services would bring the recommendation to and that's the legal opinion that we received, but I think that it's also, you can delegate it out, but we're not, that's why more research has to be done in the end too. So this one, I think, will be one of the first tasks for our new manager of legislative services to do some research on and get it. It's not a complicated issue, but we just haven't researched it yet.
Councillor Trainer.
I was wondering if you could just clarify one more time where, what Mr. Dorn was talking about at the beginning, where we would name a street after somebody who served in the war. Where does that fit in all of this?
That fits in because that's part of the policy right now, and I think Councillor Holmes spoke to it at the last meeting when we were talking about Lighthouse and if a street leads to a particular place, and so I think it's prudent for us, whether or not it's an updated policy, which we have to do anyway, or whether or not we move it into the bylaw, it's prudent for us to take the next step after this.
Okay, so right now that's just a policy.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Peak?
Shall I read it?
Sure, go ahead.
The council passed the following resolutions. The bylaw number 2016-003 Summerland Street Naming Changing Bylaw 1655-1975 Amendment Bylaw number 1 be introduced and read a first and second time by title only. 2, that bylaw number 2016-003 Summerland Street Name Changing Bylaw 1655-1975 Amendment Bylaw number 1 be read a third time.
Councillor Crossan, seconder. Anything else? Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried and opposed. Thank you very much.
Opposed.
Councillor?
I'm opposed.
You're opposed. I'm sorry. Must have flashed up. Okay, one opposed. I didn't see you. Sorry.
Didn't say if anybody was opposed.
Thought I did. Anyway. Okay, we're moving on to councillor reports, starting with Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Squeaky. I attended on January 27th a forum from the UB Centennial Celebrations event organized by the Alter Knowledge Project, and the topic was the Okanagan relations, cultural heritage and relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. It was a very interesting forum. They had speakers Jordan Cobble from the Schweppes Heritage Museum, Roxanne Lindley, who's the cultural ambassador for Silex Okanagan Knowledge, and Kyler Page and Amanda Snyder from Kelowna Museum, as well as an author, Sharon Simpson of the Kelowna Story. So it highlighted several things and spoke to the historical knowledge that's perpetuated, that we need to do more education, and that the role of dialogue and forums and public history in institutions such as museums and archives. So it was certainly well worth attending. I also attended the Chamber of Commerce can't think of the word. Thank you. At the arena, and that was well attended, and for only the second time that we've had it, it's a great acknowledgement of the kind of wonderful businesses we have and the number of candidates that came up for awards. I also worked on the Chamber Committee regarding the awards for the gala for the first time. That was a very interesting opportunity. I've attended meetings for the Cultural Task Force, the Mayor's Task Force, and the regular Chamber of Commerce meeting. Also regarding 2 meetings on the Trail of the Okanagan. I would like to emphasize that the public are invited to vote for the Chamber of Commerce Citizen and Volunteer Award, and those that nomination and voting is open until February 18th, so all of the public are invited and urged to vote on the Chamber website, and all business members are urged to vote for all the other awards. We're hoping that we have lots of good inputs this year, and we are looking forward to February 27th for the gala itself.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. Just an update from the Refugee Sponsorship Group. We've received word that our family is travel ready. So I'm hopeful that at our next meeting, I'll be able to report that we have a new family settled in Summerland. I attended the Recreation Commission meeting. That was on January 26th. That was the second meeting of the group, and I have to say I'm really impressed with this group of people. They're very knowledgeable and passionate about recreation in the community. I think we're going to benefit a lot from their input. And I'd like to thank the Rec Department for responding to a public request from last year to keep the arena open on Family Day. And yesterday, as the CEO reported, the turnout to the free public skating was quite tremendous. So I think that was a very successful day. I also attended the Cultural Plan Task Force meeting on February 1st. And I just like to make a few cultural announcements. First, the high school production of Mary Poppins is now on, and so you can get your tickets. You'll see that. The Arts Council and the Potters Guild is having their Café Noir this Saturday night, which is an excellent evening out. Philosopher's Cafe next Wednesday, the 17th. It's on the subjects on healthy living, and what the heck does that mean? So I'm going to go to that because I think I might learn something. And then the next day, on Thursday the 18th, the Art Gallery, this is having a very special opening. It's going to be selections from their permanent collection. So it'll be the first time in a long time that they have been shown, that Summerland's permanent collection has actually been shown in Summerland. So that's something I encourage all of us to come out for. On that Saturday, the 20th, the Arts Council is having its annual general meeting. The Arts Council is a very important organization for this community. One thing we've heard from outsiders on the Cultural Plan Task Force is everybody first asks us, do you have an Arts Council here? And we say yes, and he says, okay, you're so lucky, you've got a real head start already. But I think we need to recognize that we need to build some capacity in our Arts Council, and it desperately needs new board members. And some different from different groups of the community, not all the usual people who are increasingly burned out. And the same applies to the Fall Fair. There was an article on the front page of the Review last week about how the Fall Fair desperately needs new board members. And I just want to say, the community needs new people to step forward and volunteer. I like to say, imagine one day if all our volunteers didn't show up for work, where would we be right now? We wouldn't get a whole lot done. And so the volunteers are the most important resource for all community organizations. And besides being rewarding, it's really the best way to make a difference in the community, I think. If you really want to get something done, you need to volunteer.
Thank you.
Nice.
Councilor Carlson.
Well, what I'm going to say is completely different from what everyone else is saying, because I haven't been here for the last 2 weeks, but I have been representing Summerland in a roundabout way. I've been in Europe, and I was at Fruit Logistica, which is the biggest fruit and vegetable trade show in the world. And we were part of a booth that was sponsored by the BC government, and I was there with the BC Cherry Association. But also there was Summerland Varieties, and Summerland Varieties is the group that distributes the rights to grow all of the varieties of cherries and apples that come out of the Summerland Research Station. And they're basically they've basically turned the name Summerland into something almost dream-like, and it is renowned around the world by the biggest global fruit producers, especially cherry growers, but also people that grow ambrosia, and distribute those into the global agri-food industry. So it kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier, and that Summerland does have a lot going for it. And I think that we, as a cultural community, should be recognizing the huge, I tell people I'm from Summerland at this event, and they're like, oh, Summerland, because they get it, and it's kind of exciting because you tell someone that's never been and they just think it sounds like a nice place, but it's pretty famous, and it's a huge economic driver as well. So that's what I've been up to, and it's nice to be home, but I'm really tired, so I'll be done now.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Booth.
Just following up on what Councillor Holmes was saying about the Fall Fair needing board members, I think they were meeting this evening. I'm not sure, but I think they were meeting this evening. So hopefully some more people will have come forward at that. The only other thing that hasn't been spoken about is I attended the Water Advisory Committee meeting last Wednesday, and we have moved. We had very good discussion on the second service, half acre to 2 acres discussion. So that's coming along. We're making some good headway there.
Thank you. Glad to hear it. Councillor Bartlett.
I guess all I can really say is yes, what Councillor Peake said and what Councillor Boot said. I thought Councillor Boot led the discussion at the Water Advisory Committee really well. It's great that you were there and you've got great handwriting for the board. All the ideas were put out there. It's a very tough issue to wrestle with, but they're making progress.
Thank you. Councillor Traynor.
I attended many of the events that my other fellow councillors already talked about, but I just wanted to quickly mention the Philosopher's Cafe again. It's next Wednesday at 7, and my friend Louise Blay is hosting it, and she's a human kinetics professor at Okanagan College, and she's also a Summerland resident, and she's really into cycling, and she's a really great motivational speaker, and she just calls it like it is, and she's going to talk about how our decisions and how we live our lives not only affect our own health, but the people around us as well. So I think it'll be a really great evening, and it's also going to be an opportunity for the Summerland Healthy Communities Initiative, which I'm part of. It's kind of a collaboration of Interior Health and local people. We're going to be able to introduce ourselves at this event as well, so that'll be a good opportunity. And I also wanted to talk about Bike to Work Week. Bike to Work Week is coming up in May. It's May 30th to June 5th. And John and I, John from the newspaper, we will be meeting in the next couple weeks to get our team together for this year. So if anybody wants to help out and volunteer, that would be great. We had about 4 people on our team last year, and it was awesome. We had 55 riders. So this year our goal is higher, maybe 75, and I think we can reach that. So if you want to be a part of that, it's not a big commitment, just the week of we need you, every morning. But yeah, you can contact me or contact John if you want to be involved.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, now's an opportunity, public question for public to come to the mic. So please do.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you very much for addressing the issue about an south antenna. Is that the right way to say it? Policy that it was so heartening and so refreshing to listen to the debate. And I remember 9 years ago getting up to speak, and Peter was on council, and so was Lorraine Beness, and that was my first time to meet Peter. And we've come a long way. And when we blockaded the road up to where the tower is right now, Peter came to me that day, a bunch of mothers and I in our pajamas, our pajamas underneath our jeans and whatnot. And we spent the day there blockading Telus from putting up that tower, and they did go away for a short time. And Peter came up to us, the only one on council, or you weren't on council, that was your sabbatical year, I think. And just said, I'll be mayor someday, and we'll have a policy. We are asking you to be bold. I know that. And I'll get to my question, but I just want to make it clear that it's not just FCM template, it's FCM and CWTA together, right, Jeremy? It's the Canadian Wireless Telecommunication Association template. That, after many petitions to Industry Canada, about these cell towers just emerging in neighborhoods, and our petition was submitted. I actually went up to Industry Canada at the time and delivered our petition. These were being put up without any consultation at all. So the consultation aspect of that template is basically prior to an antenna going up, a cell tower going up, there's a process in place where the neighborhoods and schools are all alerted to it and given the chance to speak. And this policy is actually working in many places in Vancouver. My daughter lives in a neighborhood where they went through this process and they stopped it because the City Council of Vancouver heard and were enabled to hear their concerns. That didn't happen with this tower. It was passed, we came before council, and it was too late, it was already done. I just want to clarify a few things. Again, this venue is very difficult. I just want to let Richard know that, yes, Metchosin is 0.1 microwatts per square centimeter. Health Canada is 1,000 microwatts per square centimeter is what they allow. That's when your body actually heats to that type of radiation. That's when they recognize. And we know that a lot of things happen with your body before heat happens. Canada is the worst country in the world with levels, and this is why at a municipal level we're asking you to recognize the authority that you actually do have to have policies in place and to be bold about it. One of my big questions is about the permit was given to TELUS in 2007. They didn't erect the tower until 2009. So this permit comes up for renewal very soon. They could be coming to council any time now, asking for a renewal because it's early. I think it's January or February next year. So we're 1 year away. So it would be really good to have something in place to tell TELUS. And my vision was always that I was sitting there with TELUS, with the municipality, with staff, that we were sitting and talking. Because what's happening now is that these towers are not as needed. You can have microcell towers in industrial areas and in these places and restrict them to 0.1 microwatt. Your body does not react to 0.1 microwatts per centimeter squared according to scientific research. It starts to react, cells start to react, cell membranes start to tear apart, DNA strands start to appear in the body, and they're usually the precursor to cancers. They start happening at higher levels than that. So there's lots that can be done, and I don't think it's as expensive as you think. I'm in touch with lots of experts around the world, and Hans Carroll is actually one of the experts. He's an engineer by training in Germany, and we have been in contact, and we could get experts out here at no cost. We would house them and whatnot. So it would be really good to establish just how much you think it would be. And I just want to make the recommendation that you could actually blend Metchosin's policy and the template given by FCM and CWTA. I think it would be very good to blend the two and come up with something so that when TELUS asks you. But I'm sure hoping that before you renew the license to TELUS to have that tower up there, that we will be told about it, and we will have the chance to speak about it.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else like to speak this evening? Yes, sir.
Short comment. First, to warmly thank you again for making the first step that we will have a siting policy. One comment also about the consultation. I'm not sure that that there is a way to answer to your question and to get a number from a consultant. Because this is a subject that many people are debating on in the world. And I don't see that the district can be at risk if to any kind of a policy it will add a sentence like, due to concerns or some new evidence from science, and due to the fact that many countries are starting to look at different numbers of radiation, we decide to be cautious and therefore to have a different number. That doesn't require any consultants, but requires common sense and just being cautious. And it doesn't have to be $10,000 budget for a consultant.
Thank you. Anybody else? In the press? Susan or John? Thank you. Motion for adjournment, please. Councillor Carlson. Councillor Holmes.
Everybody.
Hands up. All in favor? Thank you. None opposed?